Hello, my friends. How are you today? I am so excited to be here with my friend Brittney Suttle. She is a CPA and she's going to introduce herself. But one of the main things that has really shifted in the last few years for me is my money mindset and how we look at money, how we manage money, what we do with it. Do we have it working for us? Are we using it and not having it work for us? How can we get ahead? How can we save? How can we plan? All of these things you don't think about that in your 20s, by the way. You don't think about any of that stuff before you have a family and you have kids. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I think I hit adulthood at some point in time in the last 5 years and I've got to figure this out.
When did that happen?
Right? Right. So I brought Brittney up here today, and I'm really excited too because she's going to come back in my 6-figure profit plan and do a training on building a 6-figure side hustle and how to do that and the best way to manage your money that way. So I'm really excited to have you in on the 19th for that. But today we're going to talk about some of the things that we should be considering when it comes to managing our money and how we can save some money too. So Brittney, I would love to have you just introduce yourself, where you're from, a little bit about you, and we can go from there. How does that sound?
That sounds great. So I am Brittney Suttle. I'm a CPA. Sorry for this horrific background. I had to plug in my phone. My phone was dying, and I had a better.
You literally just look like you're in heaven. It's just like you're just glowing. You're a tax angel, okay? That's what you are.
So I live in Indianapolis with my husband, my 8-month-old son, Sam, and I kind of have the typical post-college. I worked for a public CPA firm, worked in corporate, kind of decided it wasn't fulfilling my passion per se. So what I really did was I took a step back. I got a different job where I could work from home. It's super flexible. I work, 20, 30 hours, sometimes more, depending on what's going on with that business. But it's allowed me to also then build my own business where I help female entrepreneurs with their business finances. So I do outsource bookkeeping, I do tax work, I do advisory work, and I just like to provide a lot of value and information and knowledge to female entrepreneurs out there because, like Christine and I were talking about before, I feel like more money in the hands of women is good for our communities all around. They do great things. They, support their communities through donations, through their time. They, pay their people well. And
small businesses, other small businesses, and the community business, right?
Businesses. Yeah. They're just, and I get to see that on the back end. I get a unique perspective to that. And when doing their bookkeeping, and I just love what I see. So it just makes me more and more passionate to help more and more women. So we can build this wonderful little world that we live in.
Hey, I don't think it'd be so bad if the women were in charge, okay? I just think, we all think a little bit different. And one of the things that women do is I don't know about you, but in my family growing up, it was always my dad did the finances. My mom did the grocery shopping. My mom did whatever, but he always paid the bills. And it created this very interesting dynamic that we didn't learn a lot about finances. Actually, it's not in our school system. It's not in how we're raised. We don't know much about it. And it's up to you to gather your own financial education, or nobody's going to teach you, and the government's going to love you because you're going to pay the highest tax bracket. Right?
Crazy, isn't it?
I know.
It sounds me that, I feel like finances are something every single person is going to deal with in their life, personal finance. And there is no education whatsoever for that, unless you're in a field like mine, where you go to school for accounting or finance. Otherwise, you're just up a creek without paddle.
And the other part of your story that I really appreciate is, you got a corporate job. And why do we get corporate jobs? Well, because of the generation that we were raised by, right? We go to the university, we get a well-paying job with our degree and our education. We have healthcare and a pension. And I don't even know if that exists like anymore, that like dream job of like a union job. Like, I don't even know what that is, but we felt this pressure to do so. And what we realized in the process is we get this well-paying job. We think, okay, my family's going to be taken care of, but we don't consider that our parents and our grandparents, the moms stayed home. Like, they raised us. And so what happens then is that women have this massive, massive internal conflict between providing for their family, being the best parent, doing the best thing for their kids, but then being present in their lives too. And
Yes.
so they create this environment that they think is going to be one thing, and it turns out to be another. And so I have to give props to you for figuring out a solution to that, right? For just saying, hey, this isn't the life that I want to live. I want to be there with my son and my husband. And I want to create balance, which is something that I think way more people need in this day and age because of how society is and spending more time as a family together. Like, we all just had a year to pause and think about what matters,
Hmm.
right? And so
Absolutely.
this last year has given us that time to be like, hey, wait a second. Actually, maybe there is something to working from home. Maybe there is something a little bit different. But I get really excited about the conversation that we're going to have today because I love tax write offs. I love paying less tax because if you don't learn how to do this, like, there are times that I've paid so much money in taxes that I'm like, why do I even bother going to work? Why, like,
Right.
it for an extra few $100s a month, you might as well just stay home and not
Yeah.
worry about the taxes on the other end. So let's talk a little bit about money management. In our 30s and 40s, what are some of the things that we should be paying attention to, and what are some of the things that you recommend, especially for women that are maybe running a home business, or for families that have multiple incomes coming in? If you're learning something today and you want to learn more, click the subscribe button below, and I'd love to see you again.
Yeah. So, I think one of the things that women tend to forget about when they do run their business is, when you're at corporate, you got all those benefits. You got health insurance, you got retirement, so on and so forth. When you run your business, you have to provide those for yourself. So I think a lot of women, they get to the point where they can pay themselves what they want to, but they aren't also saving for retirement. And that day is going to now. A retirement strategy could be that you're planning on selling your business down the road and make some money from that, and that is a great strategy, and it's a great succession plan. But you should also be, the age old, diversify your income, diversify your retirement, and still be saving for retirement now as well. And the beauty of doing that as a business owner is that you can also take that as a deduction on your tax return if you have these qualified self-employed retirement plans. So it's
Right.
something like a SEP IRA or a solo 401k, something of that nature. And those things you can set up through any online broker, TD Ameritrade, Betterments, anyone like that. So that's something, if you're seeing that you have excess in your business, that you really should think about pursuing, even if it's just a few $100s a month. Um, that's a few $100s you're sending to your retirement, and you get a deduction for it. So win-win.
I love that. And so, one of the things that I was taught a long time ago, I read Smart Woman Finish Rich and Automatic Millionaire and Smart Couples Finish Rich, all by David Bach. And one of the things that he taught was to save first. So you pay yourself first before you pay everything else. And that really shifted how I looked at my finances, because if I put money in my bank account and it was automatically deducted for our RS, so we have RSPs or RESPs for our kids, and it was automatically deducted every month. And that $200, like, I never miss, I don't even, honestly, I'm kind of a set it and forget it kind of girl. So I'm sure that we
Yeah.
have money all over the place that we just, we
Which
squirreled
is
away
great.
a little bit of money here. And it saves you in the end, because a lot of people don't know that at some point in their lives, the chance is 1 in 3 that you or your partner will be on disability for up to 2 years. And it will put a massive dent in your savings. It'll put a massive strain on your financial house. And so if you're not saving for those things or have a little bit of rainy day money here or there, that can be really detrimental and very stressful to a family.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love, I think everyone has heard to automate your savings before, but you hear it all the time because it is really one of the best strategies. It's simple, anyone can do it, and you can have different buckets for your savings that you automate. So you could have an emergency savings bucket, you could have saving for a down payment on a house bucket, things of that nature. Another good strategy that a lot of people don't think about is here in the States, we have what's called an HSA account, which is a health savings account. And if you have a high deductible insurance plan, you can contribute to that. Any money that you put in is basically you put in tax-free. It can grow tax-free.
Yeah.
And when you take it out, if you spend it on healthcare costs, then
So it's like for savings for healthcare.
Yeah, so it's retirement savings essentially for healthcare.
Right.
I just had a kid this past year. I was able to use HSA money to do that. So that's a big perk as well. So if you are already capped at your retirement contribution limits, because there are limits to that, you can open an HSA if you have one of those high deductible plans, contribute to that, and that's another sort of retirement savings, because whether you like it or not, medical bills are one of the biggest costs as you get older in retirement.
Yeah, and I love that we're having this conversation because, it's one thing to work and work and work until you have an excess of money so that you can retire, and it's another thing to plan for it, or maybe plan for it early. Know how much money you need to do that, and also how much money do you need to live your life now? Because we don't take into consideration things that could happen health wise. We don't take into consideration things that could happen with a family member. I look at friends of mine that are a few years older, and they're taking care of all their family members now, right? Or like they've got to be put into assisted living or this, like where are all those funds going to come from? And so a lot of the times we don't think about this stuff until it's necessary, right? We don't think about it and the planning until it's necessary. And so I'm happy that we're having that conversation, even if it just sparks somebody's interest to be like, yeah, I should probably be contributing, even if it's $50 a month or $100, at least it starts the process.
Yeah. And it's not really a sexy topic because you don't really get to touch it until, decades, but your future self is going to thank your current self for doing that. So, and you've got to take care of your future self. One thing to think about too is just even like my husband and I, we invest in real estate, basically properties that we have tenants in. They call it buy and hold, but that is going to be a strategy for us in retirement where we would have monthly income off of that as well. So we're not just dependent on our retirement savings. We're also going to have that, and hopefully we'll have still be working a little bit, have some business income or so you have to think of diversity,
right?
Yeah.
Well, if people what it comes down to is if people want freedom, you have to have choices, right? And to overcome adversity, you have to have options. And so that's why people talk about multiple streams of income so much and having that kind of diversity. But here's the thing, you had to sacrifice to buy that other home. You had to save up and sacrifice. You guys didn't go to Disneyland 3 times last year and to Mexico and Hawaii for Christmas. You had to sacrifice something for your future self, thinking, hey, like in my retirement years, I want to spend time with my kid, my grandkids, doing the things that we love. How can we do that now? And so many people aren't having the foresight to do that. So it's conversations like this that maybe get them thinking about purchasing real estate or having people as a mortgage helper if they're looking into buying a new home, or, just smaller things like that. Now, I would also love to chat a little bit about it, like tax deductions, because if you run a home business, there's an opportunity to write off vehicle purchases and space in your home and internet and phone and all that kind of stuff. So, what can people look at if they're running a home business? Like, do the pros outweigh the cons of running a home business? I guess it depends. Yes. I guess that's a hard question. And I mean, if the business is profitable, like I have to say, you know what I mean? Like, is there a massive benefit? I guess I should ask that question differently. Is there a big benefit to running a home business or starting a home business?
I would say yes, absolutely. And I will say this about tax deductions because sometimes people get carried away. It's still your money. So don't go and think, oh my gosh, I can write this off, so I'm going to go buy it. That's
Right.
not
Right.
the
Right.
right mentality because it's still your money. So if you're spending it on, something that's needless, that's money that can't be in your pocket for something else. So just because it's a write-off, don't do like the Schitt's Creek, David. I don't
I
know
was
if you
just thinking of that episode.
write it off. That's not the mentality you want to have as a business owner. Love that, by the way.
Oh, it's so good.
But let's talk about what you can write off. Some things you may already be spending money on that you don't know you could run through your business. So here are just a few things. One, your cell phone. So if you use your cell phone for your business, you can write off not only the cost if you purchase a new cell phone, but also your monthly cell phone plan. If it's business, if you use it for business and personal, you're going to have to allocate that based on what you think you use it percentage wise for each, but you can do that. Same thing for internet, your home internet. You can write off whatever portion of that you use for business. So I have a home office, but I also have Netflix that I watch at night with my husband. So we use internet for both of those. So it might be 70-30, 60-40. You have to do that kind of calculation. Other things. So your mileage, anytime you drive to meet a client, to go pick up office supplies, to go mail something, to go pick up stamps, to anything related to your business that you're going to do. Maybe it's like research and development, like for real estate. If I'm going around and looking for properties, that mileage is a write-off. You want to keep track of that because you can get a deduction up to, I think it's 56 cents this year for every mile you drive.
Wow, that's amazing. Like, that's a big deal.
It's great. It's wonderful. And then on top of that, if you have a home office, you can actually get a deduction for the space in your home that you use as your home office. There's two ways to do that. So you can keep it real simple and just take the square footage of your home office. You plug it into your tax return. That times 5 is going to be your deduction. So if you have a 10 by 10 room, 100 square feet, you're going to get a $500 deduction. It's capped at $1,500 if you go that simple route. If you use a lot of space in your house, like I was talking to a consulting client the other day where she makes candles and she basically uses her entire basement. It's a warehouse space. She's producing, like making the candles there. She's almost got like 40% of her home is for her business. In that, you'll actually want to keep track of your home costs. So all of your utilities, all of your home insurance, any repairs, your mortgage interest, your taxes, which you'll get a form for at the end of the
Home
year.
insurance.
All of that. Yeah. You can write off then 40, if 40% of your home is for your business, you can write off 40% of those, which is a huge benefit to having a home business. So those are some like add-ons. Other things, if you, let's talk about office supplies. So people think of that as like, an agenda or pencils or paper. Well, it's also if you have decor in your office, if you buy a candle for your office, if you have office snacks. So, maybe some bottled water or whatnot. All of that can be written off. You can, if you have coffee and a coffee maker in your office, all of that can be written off. So things you're already maybe spending money on, like office snacks. Yeah, snack time. You can write that off. Things like, let's talk about education and training. I actually just did a post about this on my Instagram today.
Yes.
You can write your Audible subscription, your Patreon memberships, your Spotify. If you're listening to podcasts for business purposes, on those platforms, they can be write-offs. Also, any like online courses or books that business books that you buy, or subscriptions that you have, things of that nature, that's education. And then you have travel costs. So let's say you want to go on a work retreat. So I'm in Indianapolis. I could take a work retreat in Charleston and go there and, have an agenda and get some work done. Maybe do some branding, photography things. All of that can be written off then. All of my airfare, my lodging, all my meals, all of that. So it's kind of like a work vacation, but I would still be able to write all of that off. So
I think that people miss that mark sometimes. People love to travel. And when you like, I always say this, like when you build an online business that is international, you can go build teams and talk to people and write off your travel. Like
absolutely.
there's so much more you can do, right? I don't know if you can do this in the States, but up here, like we do video, like this is my job, providing value to people, helping people, right? Doing it this way. And
Right.
so, you can write off your ring lights, you can write off your eyelashes, you can write off doing your hair, some of the clothing that you're wearing. Like, again, don't take advantage of these things, right? But if you're doing live videos 3 or 4 times a week and you have to get your hair done and you have to do your lashes and get your makeup and all that, that's included because you have to be this way to do what you're doing.
Yeah. And there's like in the States, there is a very fine line of what is and is not included in terms of like makeup, hair, and clothes and whatnot. And if you're one of those people, I suggest like getting with your CPA just to make sure that what you're running through can. But yes, in instances, you can definitely do some of that.
I think there are just so many different types of business and so many different backgrounds that, I mean, when people say they're going to do their taxes by themselves, I like cringe a little bit. And I think I do that because of my hesitation and anxiety towards taxes. I'm just like, oh my God, but what if the government comes after me because I did something wrong? But and so there's when you hire a CPA, when you work with somebody that knows your industry, knows your business, knows like other cases that have very similar attributes to their business, then they can give you a better outline. Like we just got an email yesterday from all the things that we need to submit, and that makes it so easy for us. Like we literally have a checklist of all the things to submit. And so when you work with somebody, they can help you get the best tax benefits and help you keep a lot of money, right? Help you keep more money. And that's the goal at the end of the day. If you think this video can help a friend, make sure you share it.
Yes, absolutely. I tell people, and I'm going to say this, and I want you to know it's coming from a place of honesty, because I don't do a lot of outside tax return work because I don't want to have the tax season. So I limit it very much. I have very few openings every year. But I will say every single entrepreneur, if you own a business, you should be outsourcing your tax work. That's the one thing. Like you don't need to start outsourcing bookkeeping. You don't need to spend, something monthly, but you should have someone preparing your tax return who's familiar with your industry. So,
absolutely.
I mean, your loan, I have a couple clients, I'm going to save them thousands of dollars just because we're going to change their business structure because they hit like this trigger point that we've been tracking. And
yep.
I mean, thousands of dollars every single year. They're not going to do anything different in their business other than the fact that we're changing their business structure. And if they didn't know about that, if they didn't have someone on their side reviewing that and having that knowledge of when the right time to do that is, who knows how long they could go and just be losing out on $10, $20, $30,000, over the course.
Well, that's just it. And at some point in time, it does make sense to incorporate, and because you're in such a high tax bracket that you're paying 50% of your income out, and that can be like it is very uncomfortable. Let me tell you. But
Yeah.
when you find other people that are in that industry, then you get some better advice or this or whatever, and you can find a way to keep more money. Like, wouldn't it be amazing to start saving and be able to have a base inside of a corporation where you can start paying out your insurance through that? You can, there are different write-offs through a corporation too. Again, I don't want to get into all the details, but when you start to structure your business differently or ask a professional that it's their job to know the inside out and backwards, they're going to tell you their opinion and they're going to help you move through that. Somebody asked, how do you find somebody? And my best piece of advice is ask for a referral. Brittney, you said you're not taking a ton of new one. You got one spot.
No,
Well, we might.
that was my referral.
Right. And so, it's really important that you do find a referral, find somebody that maybe knows your industry specifically, ask questions, and often you'll be able to save a whole bunch of headache and a whole bunch of money when you just go the extra mile and just ask somebody for their opinion.
Yes, absolutely. And we talked about this before with different stuff. Referrals are going to be, especially from referrals from other people in your industry. Go that route.
Yeah. And like the thing is, I find that all referral business is good business because you don't refer somebody crappy, right? Like, you're always referring somebody that you think very highly of. And until you know otherwise, or until you move on and do something different. Right. And so April was saying, what are questions you ask to find the right person? Like, if you're looking for a good accountant, what are some of the questions that you should be asking them?
Yeah. I would just ask, like, what industries they mainly deal with. Maybe, how many clients they take on, or how responsive they are in terms of if you have questions and need to email them or get in touch with them, what's their response time typically like? What are their maybe like hourly fees, or if you needed to get on the phone with them, how much would you be charged for things of that nature? Because sometimes people are surprised with, and I don't do this because I'm very upfront with saying, hey, this will cost you. But sometimes people will get invoices for hundreds of dollars, not realizing that they were being charged for the conversation they were having. So just asking about that, what's all included, what would cost extra, things like that.
That is a great tip, honestly, because I wouldn't think to ask that. But here's the thing. You've spent thousands of hours and thousands of dollars learning what you know. And so it would only make sense that people would charge you a consulting fee, right? And so often we're like exposed to all this free information, and people forget, hey, no, like you can skip the line if you pay somebody for their knowledge, right? You can save yourself a lot of time.
Exactly.
Well, Brittney, thank you so
just
much.
don't want to be like,
oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. So I think we've got like a tiny little bit of delay. So we're both like waiting for the next person to talk. So no, what I was going to say to you is just, I really appreciate you being here to have this conversation and talk about it. I'm really looking forward to our, continuing this conversation in the 6-figure profit plan in a couple of weeks. But if you guys have any questions, or if you want to connect with Brittney, where can they find you? How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can find me at my website, kniesandco.com, which is KNIES and co.com. And I live on Instagram. So at Brittney Suttle CPA, you can find me there. Brittney is spelled Brittney. There's 27 different ways to spell Brittney. That's the word my mom chose. At Brittney Suttle CPA on Instagram, send me a DM, and I'll message you back.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Brittney. Thank you for taking the time today. You've probably helped a lot of people save some money, and we will talk again very, very soon.
All right. Sounds good. You guys have a great rest of your day out there.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Hey, don't forget to subscribe.